Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Dreams Unveiled with your hosts,
Daun Whittaker
and Melissa Salazar. We're so glad to be here. Last week, we did a dream that I had and really showed some vulnerability. I didn't know I was going to really talk about all of that. But I did.
It happens.
And today, Melissa had a dream that also is kind of a vulnerability or exposing dream. And you know what the fact is, I'm really, first of all, glad that we can share this with the listeners, because when I first started Dreams Unveiled, I was interviewing people and it became very clear they did not want to be as exposed as dreams were exposing them to themselves.
Right.
Anyway, here we are to talk about Melissa's dream.
Yeah. So my dream was one of those dreams that was just a flash of a dream. Pre to my dream, I'm going camping, and I go to sleep. Tent's great, perfect, honestly, perfect weather. And I wake up in my dream, and I had, I'm sleeping. I wake up in my dream and I had a leech on me, and then, I freaked out, and then I woke up and I actually had a slug. I woke up in my arm. I had a slug on my arm, and I picked it up and I threw it across the tent, and I went back to sleep, and I had a dream that I had a leech on me. So it was just like a weird dream, but that was it. But I woke up with a slug on me.
So she asked, what does a leech mean in a dream? And she knew that as well as I did pretty right away. And it means somebody is draining you, either emotionally, honestly, could be financially, could be emotionally, it could be physically, mentally. But in some ways, there's some external force or person that is draining.
And sometimes when we had this conversation, boom, hit me. I have a teenager, and as we all know, teenagers are, I wouldn't say draining, but, sometimes arguments can be draining, or, things that can be draining. We were about to go to Florida, and she needed a pair of sandals, and I was like, she really wanted these certain pair of sandals, Birkenstocks, and as everyone knows, Birkenstocks are a good sandal, expensive sandal, the it sandal of the season. And she really wanted a pair of Birkenstocks, and I was like, yeah, sure, fine, yeah. I'm thinking they're $90. They're $159. And we go in. She didn't want I didn't expect it to be that expensive. I didn't want to spend that. She, we talked about it, kind of argued about it. She ended up buying a lesser shoe. And then for her birthday, that was, around the corner, her grandparents bought her the shoe. But expectations of having to, be the get the correct shoe and get all the thing. It's kind of draining. Mm-hmm. It's draining.
Well, I think so. Here's a few observations, because I know you that I can really say. First of all, before I get to that, remind me I have observations. Before I get to that, let's talk about the idea that Melissa's very uncomfortable about the idea that of seeing that in her dream that her daughter is draining to her. But I want you to understand something about dreams. Dreams are not taking into account, our dream world does not take into account that you are feeling, you can't possibly feel that way, or making you feel guilty because, you're looking at your daughter this way. One of our Dreams Unveiled episodes, we talked about caregiving and how sometimes we would perceive people that we took care of as being a burden, and that came out in a particular dream. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, just because that may be a truth, because sometimes it's a truth, right? When you're taking care of somebody in any way, child, adult, it may be a burden. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean they're not lovable. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything like that. Your dreams tend to be very pointed. Mm-hmm. Your dreams are not going to play head games with you. They're just going to straight up project something, and that is going to be it. This could be that was financially draining, and I think why it affected you the way it did, because you and Addie are so close.
Yeah.
and have such a close relationship and friendship. And so sometimes to feel that way or to deal with the cost of shoes or some of those parenting things
Yeah.
that take you away from the relationship that you guys have built. And you have a great relationship, and she's such a great girl.
I just don't think she understands financial money yet. You know?
Well, sometimes kids take their parents for granted. Well, actually, all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. You know, I
Yeah.
did. So, but I really think that's what this is about, is this contrast to your normal day-to-day. Yeah, I'm mom and I'm friend and I have this great thing going with my daughter and we're very close, to really having to say absolutely not, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And how often do you say absolutely not, I can't do it?
That was a crazy thing. Yeah. So, you know, normally she's like fine with like, you know, normal prices, but I think on shoes she's very particular, and I will buy a $20 pair of shoes and be fine. You know, they're cute. I like look at it cute, not as of like a brand.
We love Ross's, that's why we shop at Ross.
This is true. TJ Maxx, love that.
It takes much longer to get through TJ Maxx for me than Ross's, but
Yeah.
that's all right. I'm getting there.
But yeah.
So I think what this is that your subconscious recognized that this was a contrast to that very relaxed, healthy relationship you have with your daughter.
Yeah.
And, you know, you probably felt and went back and forth. I'm just guessing this because this would have provoked a dream like that, oh, maybe I should have said yes, and probably went back in the pros and cons, but I couldn't say yes, and, you know, I hope she's not too upset. I mean, did you go back?
No, not. When I saw the price, I was like, absolutely not.
So,
you know, I said $90, which I thought I would never personally spend $90 a pair of shoes for myself, you know, but like she only normally wears like one pair of shoes for a season. So I'm like, okay, you get $90 if you want to buy like 2 sandals, 3 sandals, that's what you have. But yeah, no, we did not do the $156 pair of shoes.
I totally, I get that. There might have been something in you that felt a little insecure about making that decision related to the relationship with her.
Yeah.
And that may be why you had the dream.
And I also felt bad that her grandparents had to buy it.
That really does make sense.
Yeah.
But I think it really goes to highlight that on your day today, you have this great relationship with your teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. And that is something to be really thrilled about, because you have an easy daughter. You do.
Yeah.
I adore your daughter.
She's a sweetheart.
So I think even these little things can clue you in on thoughts and feelings that you have that you didn't recognize. And it's okay. You know, it really is okay. Sometimes we need to just come to terms with whatever the truth is.
Yeah, and that's true. You know, I would never have thought of like a leech and my daughter at the same time.
I know. I wouldn't have either. I was thinking that there were a few other people.
Crazy.
It wasn't going to be when I told you what a leech meant.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to end our session, but I want to remind you, buy my book, please. This book was published in July of 2023, and it is an amalgamation of all of my counseling, along with my ministry experience, that hopefully can be very helpful to you or to people you know. And the great thing about it is, if you're not much of a reader, you can just read one section that you need. You don't have to read the whole book, and you don't have to read it in order. So the book is called Change Your Mind and Change Your Life. Look for it, and I hope it blesses you.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our page.
Please. Thank you, and sweet dreams.
See ya.